Okay, let's see if the third time here is a charm. If this doesn't work, I might try again tomorrow. Then again, I might just skip it entirely. That's kind of the way I feel at the moment anyway. Your light matters, and your light matters so incredibly much. And I just wanted to share with all of you that the only way this timeline trajectory can change right now in this moment is by us. It's not by any force outside of us. And I know when we look around at what is going on the face of this planet, financially, geopolitically, medically, in every way possible, it definitely looks like we are not in control. It definitely looks like things have been hijacked. That where we were going and the most positive outcome, the most positive trajectory has been lost. The only reason it appears that way is because the things that they've been trying to hide for eons, they can no longer hide. Too many people have done the research. Too many people have an amazing awareness. Too many people are sharing on all forms of social media. So there's no... Basically, it's this simple. They're only letting this information out that they've been keeping hidden for so very long because now they do not have the physical ability any longer to change, alter, or manipulate or control in any way this timeline. They're making it appear that they have that power, and they're doing that by dumping 1,000 years worth of agenda into our lap in a matter of weeks. And that's basically what they've been doing for the last 6 weeks. I'm sure you guys have noticed. You'll see that people everywhere are talking about Bill Gates and vaccinations and microchips and all sorts of things like this. There are people that have known about this for a really super long time. There are people that have found out about it yesterday, and there's certainly everything in between. Again, the only way that they can make it look like they have the control over the situation is to put out and release all the information about what the agenda was. Doesn't mean it's what the agenda is. It's dead, it's gone. But there are obviously remnants of it. They tried to hide something, all of this, for a really long time. Well, what do you do when you have finally lost, right? You put everything on the table. So what's happening now, what we're seeing now, is everything is going out on the table for us to see, right? Why would they be doing this? Again, the reason that I feel they're doing it, the reason that I see that they're doing it, is because they do not have the physical, and that's important, they don't have the physical ability to control, manipulate, or change anything. The only way that we can change this timeline is through us. So what does that mean to us? That means all of these things that are coming up into view, it was the agenda. It was exactly what they wanted. It was the New World Order. There's 100 different names. It doesn't matter what you want to call it. They're exposing themselves. They're dumping their own information because they know it cannot happen physically, and they want us to be... Now, pretty much, it's just all about the mind. It's all about what you believe. It's all about what you perceive. It's all about what you focus on. So should we be focusing on the fact that all of these things are coming to light? Not really, because the fact that all of these things are coming to light and it's something new every 2 days or every week, it's some massive thing, you know, in the 4 decades, almost 5 decades that I've been alive, every once in a while you get information on something. Now it's every 2 days, every 5 days, there's some massive new agenda that's, they say is uncovered, or they just found out about it. But again, These agendas are hundreds, some thousands years old. And by now bringing them up, by now exposing them, it is partial disclosure. Disclosure is about 100 different things. So bringing it up now makes everybody feel like, oh, this is now, this is now, this is now. But really, it's the past. Because something only happens for you when you become aware of it. Now, I've known this for the last 2 years because I may post something, and then a couple of days later, somebody else would post it. And I do believe this is just us being aware of a group consciousness. It's not that anybody was going in and taking my stuff or I was taking anybody else's stuff. It wasn't that at all. It was that people were hitting a certain realization within days of me or months of me or a year from me. I made a post that the Matrix was gone on 7/7/2019. I have seen hundreds of such posts since then saying that the Matrix is now dismantled. It doesn't mean that anybody's right. Specifically about dates, we all know how to pretty much feel about dates at this point, I would hope. But the thing is with that, you can't say, oh, this is going to happen. That person waits for that date and says it doesn't happen. But it has to, even if it physically happened, it could have happened physically 2 weeks ago. It could have physically happened 1,000 years ago. But it doesn't happen personally to you in a physical or spiritual or mental or biological way until you hit the realization of it. That's why you have so many different people stating that things are going to happen that you feel have already happened, or you have people saying that things are about to happen that that may have happened yesterday. And it's a little bit confusing, but the way I'm able to see time now is it's not like you may have a life and die and come back and reincarnate and you go through this cycle over and over again. What I started seeing a couple of days ago was it looks like there's one soul or one soul consciousness and everything just fragments out from that. So you start out as the original soul. Maybe you're leading these. If time is only available, if time and space are only available in the third dimension, but our soul is in a higher dimension, there could be 50, hundreds, thousands of fragmented timelines going side by side. Now, that is also why a large group of people are starting to experience themselves in other timelines or other lifetimes, or they see themselves looking a different way or married to a different person, or having a different job, because multidimensional means you're having access to a myriad amounts of bleed through of information, of fractals of who you are in this moment, who you are in different moments simultaneously. It's all happening simultaneously. I know that sounds crazy, and I've known that for, I don't know, the last year and a half, but it didn't really start making sense until probably the last couple of months, I guess, is when it really started to make sense. And I saw that all of these things that we sit around and question, should I share? Could I keep this in? Does it matter what people think of me? Everybody that is significant has had a significant influence on history. I saw simultaneously all of them. They all had that very same moment. What am I doing? Why am I here? Is this important? Should I share? And a lot of the not wanting to share comes from a cellular memory that we have. I know that I have many memories of violence and life-ending situations with myself, my physical body, in some incarnation, because it pretty much, the idea that if you believe you create your reality, there's some kind of witchcraft attached to that. Now, I don't mean witchcraft in a way that I'm judging whether I like it or don't like it. I'm talking about outside influences. I remember 3 different lives where they wanted me to be silenced, and I refused to be silenced. I refused that agenda, and I lost my life because of it. Now, even if you don't have an awareness of that happening to you on another timeline, you will, many of you watching this will notice that when you start to open your mind, you really question, should I say this? Should I not say this? And part of it is due to that cellular memory of what happened, what happens to us before. And so the one thing I can say about right now is we absolutely have every freedom and sovereign right within every cell of our body to say exactly how we think and feel and move and motivate and everything. There is nothing to stop us from doing that. We do not have the persecution we had thousands of years later. You know, somebody may call me some names on a Facebook comment. That happens, but it's not like it was. And I really had to, when having those other flashbacks of those other times and trying to be silenced and losing my life for it, I really had to watch what I was thinking when it came into my mind. Should I share this? Should I make a video about this? Should I do this? Should I have that conversation with family or friend? Because that thought process came back up. And the way I got around that was just to reassure myself, things are very different now. And we can pretty much, I'm not saying that there's zero repercussions, but we can pretty much say exactly what we want to say. And for me, I would much rather listen to someone's personal insight and personal experience than I would follow someone who has millions of viewers. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but I just like the person to person reaction. One of the things that came up last night in a conversation with a friend of mine, and actually it came up with 3 friends yesterday, and here's what I noticed. Those of us that have already gone through a lot of the awakening process ahead of time knew how isolating it was, and we really don't want to see other people going through that on their own. I know when people start to experience these strange anomalies or magical synchronicities and all of those kinds of things, a lot of them just don't want to talk to anybody, and people don't even want to make a comment on a post for fear that somebody else will actually know what they're thinking or know what their visions were, or something like that. So what I noticed in talking to Evan Ansad yesterday was that we pretty much had a grid of awareness and people that we spoke to. I mean, I have a very tight, short list of people that I speak to. He's in Michigan. I'm in Ohio, right below him. Got somebody right below us in Alabama. We've got 3 people on the West Coast and 3 people on the East Coast. And those are the people that we talk to on a regular basis. There is nobody physically present in my life, in my house, in my state that I can fully open up to and share these things with. And I am very fortunate to be able to talk to a couple family members about little pieces of things here and there, but there's nobody directly physically connected to me in Ohio that I can discuss these things with. Same thing for my friend in California. Same thing for my friend in Seattle. Same thing for my friend in North Carolina. So we're all going through this, and no matter what the reason for the inception of Facebook was, it's really great for this because it is a support system. It's an absolutely unbelievable support system for everybody to be able to connect and be able. I mean, these 5 friends that I have, they're just incredible, and it's never anything but positive feedback, you know? And when that happens, when that other person is that open, you then not only can share what you already know, but when you feel open and relaxed, you start getting all kinds of information that you didn't even know was there in your awareness. And the same thing happens to that other person, and they just feel free to say whatever they want to say. It comes out their mouth, and it just goes on. And the longer you talk, the more information, the more harmony, the more resonance comes out of this conversation, because it's just extremely sovereign and loving to whatever you feel, whatever you're thinking, whatever is going on with you. I've been considering for a while not making any more videos. I haven't talked to really anybody about this. Maybe, I think maybe two of my friends know. Um, I'm a pretty personal person. You don't see me posting personal drama. I'm more apt to write things down as I get them and collect those things for a couple of days or a couple of weeks and then come on and I'll either write about it or make a video. My family has been connected to the Holy Grail movement since 1944, and I'm currently in the house where my grandmother grew up, and her grandmother grew up, and my mother also grew up, and now I'm here temporarily with my mom. We went walking in the woods on March 8th, and we were attacked by two German Shepherds and two pit bulls. They knocked us over at about 20 miles an hour, about 400 pounds of them. And it was undoubtedly the scariest thing that's ever happened to me in my life. Once they knocked us down, they got on top of us. They were growling and drooling and opened their mouths to attack. And then some kind of military Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. I probably shouldn't have said that. The last video I said about something about that. I got kicked off. But anyway, this military helicopter showed up above us, and then they got off of us. That was on March 8th, so my mom had her ankle broken on two sides. Her fibia was snapped in half, and her leg was broken in a total of 4 places. She was in the hospital for a week. She was in rehab in a nursing home for a week during the COVID thing. I just went and took her out of it because, not because of my concern over the virus, but my concern over staffing issues and other things like that. The only reason I'm sharing this with you now is there's been, well, for one, I turned into a nurse up until about a week ago when my mom was able to finally walk around with a walker, and she's been in a wheelchair for 2 months, over 2 months, April, May, yeah, over 2 months, almost 2.5 months. So that's why you have not seen much of me at all. It was extremely traumatic, and I'll make a really long story incredibly short if I can. I knew this attack was intentional and I knew it was military related. And as it turns out, the guy that was working on my mother's leg while we were waiting for an ambulance was military. He was in the Afghanistan war. And the military showed up above us right after this guy just made a joke. He was trying to make my mom feel better. And he told my mom that he'd called a helicopter to come and get her out of the woods because we were really in the woods. We were about a half mile from the road. He made a joke that he had called a helicopter, and then one showed up, and he said, "No, I'm just, just kidding. I didn't really call a helicopter." That ended up being military too. When life started to settle down 2 months after it happened, my friend Lynn, who was a paralegal for 15 years, did some massive digging for me and found his voter registration and found out what I and my sister and a few other people suspected all along, that he is a psychological dog trainer. This was not an accident. And I got to tell you, after this happened, my mom did not realize at first what it was, but after she was in the hospital and in rehab for 2 weeks, she came home, and I went to check on her the first night she was home, and she opened her eyes and looked at me and said, "This was a military operation." And then she came in the kitchen shortly thereafter and said, "Whatever you're doing that's bringing this about, whatever's going on with you, whatever you're doing on Facebook or whatever videos you're making or whatever that's causing this to happen, I don't want to have anything to do with it. I don't want to be involved in it." And it's like, if you watch my videos, it's, I couldn't even, I know there's a lot that goes on there. They're out there, there's targeted individuals and things like that, but it just, for me, it just seems like why. And I had to tell my mom that I wasn't involved in anything outside of myself. I was just simply keeping track of my messages and sharing my messages. I explained to her, it's not like I'm not like have a million Twitter followers. It's not like I'm changing or altering the banking system. I'm not involved in geopolitics. I don't even post that kind of stuff, and I haven't in many, many years. Yeah, so this was a lot to deal with. She has to learn to walk again. And so, I mean, just an incredible amount of things going on. Also, the place where I received my military information came to me the day after this happened. Well, first of all, they came to me a day or two before it happened, and all they said was the Manchurian Candidate. Had no idea what that was, and didn't even think twice about it. I thought, okay, I don't know why. Normally, I just write things down, no matter how insignificant they seem. But I didn't write it down, and it's just the message was just the Manchurian Candidate. Well, I didn't find out until I was talking to Cindy Wilson, probably 10 weeks afterwards, that it was about a PSYOP military controlled takeout. They were trying to tell me what was coming. They were trying to warn me what was coming. So then the attack happened on March 8th, and on March 9th, the person that I normally talk to about what's going on this globe, and that's a multifaceted thing that involves many subjects, came to me the day after it happened and said, there will be no more strategic or military correspondence with you. Um, it's not going to happen because it's it's too dangerous for you. You're still, unbelievably, I just couldn't wrap my mind around what about me required a military takeout. But I'm telling you, that was definitely what they intended to do, was the military takeout. Um, but anyway, I don't know why. I'm not exactly sure why I'm sharing this, because it's, like I said, it's been since March 8th. I never had any intention of talking about this. I haven't received any military style messages since that time. I was told on March 9th that what I was already receiving, I would continue to receive if it had something to do directly with my safety and the safety of my friends and family. Beyond that, nothing. Very interestingly, though, I didn't talk about that with anyone other than Evan either. And just last week, when I started to talk about it, I had several of my good friends tell me that a multitude of people had come to them or posted the same thing. Around the first week in March, they were told no more military information. It's complete military blackout. So I knew things were about to get really good at that point. So thank you, Nikki. Yeah, I mean, it was a lot. I don't know that I can stop it. What I was shown before is it doesn't have to do with what you say. It doesn't have to do with what you're physically changing in the world. It really has to do with the light frequency signature that your body gives off. So they judge what you are capable of doing according to that light, according to that signature, personal um, auric field signature. So a lot of times what some of the outside things that can happen to you, if you really got to stay in that centered, grounded place and not entertain too many ideas outside of ourselves, because it really is very easy for these kinds of things um, to happen. I don't say that in a fear way, because I just, anyway, it's enough of that. But yeah, so we're just starting to get back to normal, and in the middle of this, our house, my uncle, as you guys know that follow me, last September, my favorite relative on the planet, my Uncle Pete, passed away, and the family decided to, my family, one specific person really, decided to ask my mom to leave this house, even though I'll shorten it to say it's definitely not right action. But anyway, we were not expecting, during all of this that we see going on in the outside world, we were not expecting the house to be on the market for 16 days before it got sold. So basically, we went straight from just starting to rehab to now actually having to move. So it's just been a lot I just wanted to share that so you guys knew where I was and why I wasn't sharing. Just a little bit concerned about the safety thing. And the only other thing that I really, when I say this, then it sounds like I'm telling you what to do or telling you what not to do. Here's what I'm seeing. We have a couple of waves of people awakening. The first wave of people had a harder time, and that's why they don't want the second wave to feel so isolated. So we are all three-dimensional beings, but we are all in different dimensions simultaneously. Some of us are aware of this, some of us aren't. It doesn't mean it's not happening to you if you're not aware of it. It's probably still happening. But there is a balance in those three waves. So if I am picking the fifth dimensional wave or the 12th dimensional wave, and I am constantly inundating myself with news feed, with articles, with posts about waking people up, which is waking people up. As I've said it before, there's 3D, there's 5D. That bridge in between is where you start to realize things are not what I thought they were. Then you start doing research and you learn a lot. And then you want to share with everybody else, which is fine. But it was set up in waves intentionally. So the first wave is just a smoother transaction and easier on our cellular system if we are sharing mostly with the wave that has hit the bridge of the understanding of those things that is going on. The biggest wave for that fourth dimensional wave, that middle wave, to help the last wave in the awakening, because there's no gap there. So what I'm saying for me personally, I'm in this fifth dimensional space. I'm experiencing the higher dimensions. But then I'm dropping myself down to 3D, dropping myself down to 3D, just keep lowering and lowering, lowering to make somebody understand that fluoride is bad, that Bill Gates does not want a healthy world, things like that. So it's just something to keep into consideration. We are set up in these waves so that's the best way that we can assist people. That in-between wave communicates with us, communicates with a 3D. It's much smoother than the first wave. And I say that because most people in my feed are the first wave. And so really pay attention to why you're dipping down into that. It's because you want people to realize what's really going on. But look how many people found out about Bill Gates in 3 weeks. I swear to God, everywhere I went, people just looked at me and said, have you seen Bill Gates? Do you know Bill Gates? This whole agenda, I'm talking, no matter where I went, this was happening to me in the grocery store, and people are talking about it. The people are waking up at an exponential rate. If they've decided that they don't want to do that right now, we got to let that go. Do we really want to self-sabotage our auric field so that one more person can understand? And I will say that the last wave of realization that is there is not going to become aware because you post something or become aware because you start discussing fluoride at the dinner table. No, this last wave is going to become aware by visual means. They are going to see the media. They are going to see the agenda. They have to see it. Once they see it, then of course we can talk about it. But right now, you've got a couple of million people waking up all at one time. And that is glorious. And it really does us good to remember that, to see that. And again, I'm not telling anyone what to do, but the first wave did the research a long time ago. And the great thing about that is we have to move past it. Because if we are dipping down into 3 and 4D just for the sake of trying to bring someone up to a certain understanding or certain awareness, first of all, like I said, I don't think that that's really working. But second of all, this first wave is, and it's nobody's better, worse, it's not indifferent, but the first wave is now hitting a physical, spiritual, emotional place of absolute manifestation and creation. So that's why I say them bringing about all these agendas and telling us now what they've planned for thousands of years and throwing this all in our face at one time. Yes, it's sickening. Yes, it's disgusting. Yes, it's absolutely real. All of it is real. But right now, they again do not have the ability to physically alter the timeline. Us as a collective dipping into it, buying into the agenda that, and again, absolutely every bit of it is 100% real. There's unequivocally no doubt about the fact that it was real. But the thing is, they're past the point of making it physically happen. But if they get enough people afraid, guess what? We can ourselves manifest that outcome. And so I know I personally don't want to do it. I'm seeing so many people wake up, and I'm watching Facebook, and I'm even looking at stupid stuff like advertisements and about food, or advertisements about, vaccinations or medications. And I'm scrolling through the comments, because if you do that, if you have a few minutes to do that, you can really gauge where the collective is at. And that collective is at a totally different place than it was even a couple of weeks ago. So it's absolutely amazing. And it is really hot in here for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why. Lewis says, not only myself, but my daughter is having tooth pain. We've both been warriors. I'm having it. I lost an entire tooth in this process. I think you guys remember that's how I learned this healing exercise that Evan and I and 100 of you guys were doing for a while. Is because of the tooth thing. I've had some sort of, some kind of jaw thing going on at night. My mom's got it too. A bunch of people having things going on with the mouth. We are absolutely rewiring and configuring and turning into this whole different cellular being, okay? It doesn't just come in, right, to the pineal gland and then wake you up and ta-da. No, it comes in to the pineal gland. What happens is the pineal gland is connected to everything else, okay? It moves and jars your insides up and down the 33 the vertebrae in your spine. Is connected to your whole nervous system. So if you're thinking, oh, wow, here comes a download, this is going to feel like bliss. Oh, it absolutely is. But there's going to be other things that come with it. There's going to be spine tingling. There's going to be severe exhaustion. There's going to be, all the different things we've talked about. I probably don't need to go into that. But the pineal gland is absolutely on a cellular level connected to everything in this entire avatar. Not only that, it's connected to every nerve ending and meridian in your entire body. So when you get a download, you're getting information. Yeah, you're getting a direct connection to Source and Akashic and all these other things. It's a lot for us. So turning into angels is a lot. We can do it. I know we can do it. I do apologize. I've been not looking at your comments. I usually don't look at your comments because I get massive ADD, and I'm not even sure if I can go back. Yeah, I'm having an issue with that too. Lois is asking, is this a reason we feel attacked by disease? And I actually can't see your whole comment, Lois, but I've been feeling like something's wrong with me for months. I've been limping. I have pain in my bone. I have, the shaking in my jaw. I have so many different things going on. It's a lot. I don't want to talk about ascension symptoms particularly, just because I see hundreds of other people talking about that. I think there's a lot of people that are stepping up to help and put that information out. I think the last thing I wanted to say is, and I drew a little picture, not that this will help you, but so if we can see this. So here's Earth at the top. Earth comes through a birthing canal when it came into this universe. Birthing canal whatever you would like to call that. So Earth descended into a 3D location, also a 3D vibration. Well, now we have the exact opposite, okay? So Earth is at a geographical spot in the cosmos where it now goes back through the birthing canal and goes up through the ascension process, meaning there is no splitting of worlds, there's no splitting of people, there's no people forgetting people. You have an Earth that was here, it descended down into a 3D physical location within the cosmos. Whatever, I don't know if it's 26,000 year cycle, it doesn't really matter to me, but it is cyclical. It is at the bottom. Now it's going back up to the birthing canal, it's going to a different place. So we don't have 10 Earths. We don't have, it's getting to be a little bit more of a complicated thing than I think it needs to be for our basic understanding. Earth at one point, many thousands, maybe millions of years ago, descended. Now it is ascending. The only way you're not going to ascend with it is if you decide that you just don't want to ascend with it. I do see people concerned that their relationships aren't going right, or they still have fights, or they still have arguments, and they think their vibration's too low and they're not going to ascend, and all this other stuff. It's just not true. It's just not true. The higher the energy gets, the more the lower vibration it pumps out of our system when we go, okay? We're human beings. We're going to have disagreements. We're going to have, things like this are going to happen. It's normal. It doesn't mean you're ascending. It doesn't mean you had a painful breakup last week and you feel depressed and you're really sad and you're really emotional and you're really hurt and you're really in this 3D realm of anger. So what? Let yourself be there. It's not going to stop you from ascending. You got to get it out of your system, right? As David Wilcock says, if you throw up, you'll feel better. Please don't leave me any nasty comments about David Wilcock. It's just what came to my mind. Especially with all this purging, it's true. You get it out and you'll just feel better. So I love you guys very much. Stay in touch for sure. I promise not to be a stranger. We've got to be out of the house in like 9 days. So I've been packing, organizing, and selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace. Like a maniac for the last 30 days. That's why a lot of times you guys message me and stuff. I don't get back to you. There's so much going on. People get frustrated. They see that I'm on Facebook. That's because I'm selling stuff on Marketplace. Marketplace is the best place to sell anything. You can see who your buyer is. You can see where they live, what they look like, everything. It's amazing. So anyways, I just wanted to say that there's a lot going on. And if it's possible to everybody, just know that what you know doesn't necessarily have to be shared. The sped up trajectory that we are on, everybody is going to find out what's going on, whether you participate in their knowing or not. So whatever makes you happiest during the interim while this mass awakening is happening, that's what you should do. Okay? Okay. Again, I sound like I'm telling people what to do. I swear I'm honestly not. But I know that everything is going to be okay. And I know that when this started, I went through the same process. I'm not any more enlightened than anybody else. I went through this same thing. Oh my gosh, they're dumping stuff left and right. And what's going on? Well, what's going on is people had to know what the plan was. And that's the operative word here, was. People absolutely had to understand what the agenda was, what they wanted to have happen. Okay? It can only happen now if we invite it to happen. So I invite you to stay in whatever is fun for you, whatever is joyous for you. Do that. Just do it. Hopefully I haven't said anything to get myself edited or get this removed. Third time's the charm, I'm hoping so. All right. I promise not to be a stranger this time. This long. Hopefully. Yes, I do. All right, you guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.